how grown you are, 35, 52, 78, we all have an inner child. Caring for and healing this younger version of yourself is super important for your well-being and your growth. So here to help us out with that healing process is psychotherapist Marci Gray. Good to have you back, Marci. Can you explain to us what our inner child is?
So your inner child is yourself during childhood. And it's that particular time of development where you are in your childhood, where you have certain experiences or emotions or needs within your childhood. So for example, my 5-year-old self was rambunctious and fun-loving and outgoing, but then my grade 4 self got bullied and then became, quiet and shy and had anxiety. And so if I was going to go back and kind of heal that inner child, that would probably be the stage I'd want to heal.
Absolutely. Okay, so why is it important to get in touch with your inner child? What will that do for us?
Right. So you want to get in touch with your inner child, especially if there's been attachment wounds, right? If there's been things that have hindered you in your life. So you want to get in touch with that inner child because it could be the underlying reason for anxiety or for depression or for emotional dysregulation problems. So, always being angry or angry outbursts. It could be the reason why you are shying away from intimacy and things like that. So there might be many different reasons why you want to get in touch with your inner child again, in addition to just having fun in life.
Right. Okay, so how do we know if we have inner child wounds? How do we figure that out?
Exactly. So first I want you to ask yourself these couple of questions. So number one is, do you feel like you're being hindered in life? Is there a lot of hindrance or something that you can't overcome? Number two is, do you find yourself very unhappy and you know that there's something really, really wrong because you're feeling quite unhappy with life, right? And then number three, you want to really ask yourself, are there people, situations, places that I'm avoiding constantly that I'm not, not doing? And ask yourself some of those questions to see maybe there's an inner child wound. But I also like to categorize inner child wounds into 4 categories. So let's visit these 4 categories. So number one, you can have an abandonment wound. So for example, I have a lot of clients who grew up in the Caribbean, for example, and their parents had to go away to the States or to Canada. And so they feel that sense of abandonment. So they may still have the abandonment wound, okay? So that's one. The trust wound, that sometimes happens if there was childhood sexual abuse or physical abuse, where you no longer felt safe as a child. And so even as an adult, you find it hard to trust, right? Or you find it hard or difficult to connect with others on an intimate level.
Yeah.
So that's the trust wound. The other wound is the guilt wound, where you were made to feel guilty or shame during your childhood. And that then could be the guilt wound, in which you feel guilty all the time. So you're always saying sorry or, feeling bad for things. But sometimes you could also be manipulative, using guilt in a manipulative way, because that was kind of how you learned as well.
You were manipulated constantly, right?
By guilt.
And so now you do that.
Exactly.
Yes. And the next one?
And the last one is the neglect wound.
Yes.
So your parents were there, but they neglected to satisfy your emotional, physical, psychological needs, and so that could still be a wound for you. And so sometimes that results in low self-esteem, not feeling great about yourself, really finding it hard to get along in big groups of people. So that neglect wound can sometimes still linger with you.
Okay, so now we got to get into, how do we heal that?
How do we heal?
How controversial is this going to be? Are we going to fold ourselves back and put ourselves in the womb?
In the womb.
Like, how do we fix it?
How do we fix it? All right, so let's talk about that. So as a therapist, I'm going to say, therapy. You got to go to therapy. And in therapy, you want a therapist who specializes in trauma and healing trauma and specializes with inner child work. And as you're doing inner child work, then you might be using things like EMDR or cognitive behavior trauma therapy, different types of specialized therapy to help you to dive deeper into your inner child.
And what's EMDR?
So EMDR is a type of therapy in which it's like rapid eye desensitization. So it's a type of therapy in which you can look up and look for somebody who specializes in that.
Now, the other thing we were talking about, and I know we've got to wrap up now because we're out of time, but it's just being that child.
Yes,
Like sometimes going back and doing the things, doing the swimming lessons, doing dance lessons.
Absolutely.
I love to see grown-ups doing fun things that maybe they feel they missed out on.
Exactly.
We don't have to get rid of that fun side. I mean, yeah, we got a mortgage to pay. I get it. But you can still sort of nurture those parts of yourself that brought you joy and wonder and curiosity, even as you're a grown-up.
Exactly, exactly. And you want to do those things to thrive and to feel happy once again.
Do you find that there's an activity that you've taken up, again, as a grown-up, because you want to get back to little Marci?
Yeah, bike riding.
Oh, good for
I love
you.
bike riding now with my kids or on my own.
Yeah.
Love it, love it, love it. I've picked that up again as a child and love doing that as an adult.
Well, for me, I never really properly grew up. So I'm very much in touch with my inner child. And part of that is coming into this job in this studio every day. We get to carry on like kids, and I love it. Thank you so much, Marci.
Thank you.
Really good.